This video will discuss chapter 12.3, volume of cylinders. So we're going to talk about the volume of a cylinder today. We're going to use the formula we talked about in the last lesson, which is volume equals area of the base times the height. But since we're talking about a cylinder which has a circular base, the area of a circle is pi times radius squared. So we're going to do the volume of a cylinder would be pi times r squared times h. And so we're essentially going to use that formula today, pi r squared h, to find the volume of some cylinders. So let's start with two examples. And so in this first one, you'll see that the radius is 3 inches and the height is 12 inches. Keep in mind this cylinder is kind of on its side, right? So if you think of it, this is the base and there's the height. But since it's laying on its side, we're looking at it like this. And so volume equals pi times radius squared times height, right? So pi r squared h. So this is pi, it's a pi, sorry, times 9 times 12. And so pi times, so 9 times 12 will be 108 times pi. So the volume of this is going to be 339.292, and so this 9 tells me that I should round up with that 2, and so the volume equals approximately 339.3 inches cubed. Now make sure that you are talking about cubic inches, right? So you need to make sure that you have to the third degree there. Now if we look at the second problem, remember we need to find radius, so r squared, and this is the diameter, right? So the 14 is the entire thing across, so the volume of this is going to be pi times radius, so the radius is half of 14, so that's 7 squared times 20. So this means that it's going to be pi times 49 times 20, and so I do 49 times 20, which is 980. And then that times pi gives me 3078.7600 dot dot dot. This 6 tells me that I should round up on the 7, so that means I'm looking at approximately 3078.8 cubic centimeters. Right, so make sure that you either are writing cubic centimeters or you've got the 3 there to represent the cubic part. All right, and so then finally, since we are in a class that's preparing you for algebra, keep in mind that you just need to have one unknown, and so there are times when volume is not necessarily the unknown, right? So in the last two problems, you were given, or you had a way of finding the radius and the height, and your job was to figure out what's the volume. But in this particular problem, we know the volume, and we're going to try to figure out what's the height. So if I'm using the formula volume, which is 618, equals pi times radius squared. The radius is 4. Oh, sorry. I was doing some stuff in my head there. 4 squared times height. So that means that 618 equals pi times 16 times height. And I'm going to rewrite this in a different way. And so I'm going to make this 618 equals, using the commutative property, I'm allowed to write it like this, and so I'm going to move these two around. So I got 16 pi times height. So what I'm going to end up doing is dividing both sides, I guess this whole thing, by 16 pi, and this by 16 pi. And so when I divide this by 16 pi, cancel out, I'm going to be left with an h, which is good because I'm trying to figure out the height. And 618 divided by 16 pi equals 12.2947. That's a 4, sorry, doesn't necessarily look like one. This 9 tells me that I should round up onto the 2, so the height is going to be approximately 12.3 meters. Now, I want you to notice that this one is meters and not meters cubed, because we're just talking about the height, which is one dimension. We are not talking about the volume. We know the volume. That was in cubic meters. All right, that's all we got for you today on volume of cylinders. Thanks very much for watching the video. Don't forget to do the problems on the bottom of the page, I'll see you in class.